Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing podcast. Each week, John Kasman interviews multifamily and marketing experts to teach you how to find the best places to invest, attract investors, and grow your portfolio. You are listening to Target Market Insights with your host, John Kasman.
Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing show. I'm your host, John Kasman. I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. Now, if you're enjoying the show, do me one quick favor and leave us that 5-star rating and review. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, today we're going to be talking to my guy, Jason Stubblefield. Jason has been investing in real estate for over 10 years. He started with single-family homes and eventually obtained his residential real estate license with Keller-Williams. Jason has since moved into the multifamily real estate investing space and is a general partner in over 900 multifamily units. Let's welcome to the show, Jason Stubblefield.
John, thank you for the great introduction, man. I'm glad to be here. It's been a long time in the making, man, but glad to talk to you on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. Jason, someone I've had the pleasure of knowing for a couple of years now. I went over your bio at a very high level. Why don't you take a minute or two and give us a little bit more context?
Sure. So I joined the Marine Corps, like right out of high school, did that. Shout out to all the Marines out there. After that, decided I want to go get some education to better my life. Got a degree in computer science, and that sort of led me to investing, right? I was doing computer science for a while and then decided that, hey, I need to start planning through real estate, my future, my retirement. Did single family and then sort of morphed into multifamily. So once I caught that multifamily bug, I've been hooked ever since. And so that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, so you mentioned the compute. You did one. Thank you for your service in the Marine Corps. You mentioned after that you focused on your education, going into computer science, and then working on that, and that kind of led you to investing. Give us a little more context. How did computer science really lead you into the real estate investing space?
Yeah. So coming out of college, I had a number in my head. I was like, hey, if I can get a certain income, right, and then I'm gonna be set for life. And I quickly got to that income level and the satisfaction wasn't there. I was doing okay. I don't want to minimize it at all. I was definitely doing better than some of my peers, but it wasn't the lifestyle that I ultimately wanted. And, I got married, I had a family, and I was like, okay, I have to do a whole lot more than what I'm doing with just working this job. And so that's what led me to start digging around and seeing what else is there. There's got to be another way. Didn't want to just continue down that career path and dying in some cubicle. That wasn't ideal life for me. So I started looking into real estate. So that's what really led me to seeking out other things when I started thinking about my retirement.
I wrote down death by cubicle as my note here, trying to avoid death by cubicle. Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And you mentioned you got your license from Keller-Williams. You were doing more residential stuff. Right. What was it that led you from the residential side into multifamily?
Right. So it really started with my uncle sort of just recommending a book, right? That purple book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that and I was like, okay, I need to go buy some real estate. That's exactly what I need to do. So I was fired up about that and I started, but I didn't really have a plan. So I bought some single families and then, that was going okay and continued to buy single family, but I looked at it and was like, this is going to take me a very long time for me to be able to replace my income, to be able to have anything that I could call something of a resemblance of retirement off of. And I wasn't scaling through single family. I know a lot of people do single family on scale, but I was just individually buying a house, signing, using my own money. And that was going to take me forever. So that's what led me to say, okay, I like multifamily, or I like real estate in general, but let me see what else I can do to sort of speed this along.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're basically faced with something we hear from a lot of people, right? You started investing and then you looked at it and say, all right, this is going to take too long. How much were you clearing? Like on a single property, how much were you clearing in profit?
I mean, it wasn't a lot of money, maybe somewhere between $300 to $600 a property.
All right, so $300 to $600 a property, which is better than most people, but $300 to $600 per property, and you're like, all right, this is good, but this is not enough to replace my income. This is not, moving as fast as necessary to really replace my income or set me up in case I wanted to retire. So then you started to look at multifamily, and multifamily obviously having more units, making it easier to scale and grow. What were some of the challenges you faced investing in multifamily compared to what you were doing as a single family investor?
Yeah, I was very, I guess I didn't have a lot of knowledge when I started, right? My initial plan was sort of a single family strategy with multifamily. So I was thinking that I was going to buy, 4 units here, eventually take that money, roll it into an 8 unit, take that, roll it into a 12, 16, whatever it was. So that was my initial thought process. And I started along that journey. I was fortunate enough because I had a couple of fourplexes under contract. And one of the best things that probably happened is that I pulled out of that contract. Just didn't feel right. Didn't feel like the owners were giving me enough information to make me feel like I should go forward with it. And that had come after months of me looking at these properties, committing to the small single family space. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, what could I do? And that's what really led me to just call on a much larger property, which was my first multifamily asset.
No, that's awesome, man. Congratulations on that. So trusting your gut to pull out of that deal really allowed you to step back and kind of retool a couple things to get into that large deal. Talk to me more about that
Absolutely.
larger deal. And where are you located, by the way? Tell us about the market and kind of as you're looking at these different properties, tell me about what you're looking for in the market.
Yeah, so right now, excuse me. Yeah, so right now I'm in Lawrenceville, Georgia, it's outside of Atlanta. That's a market that I like because I was living in the DC area and investing outside of the DC area. So DC is very, very expensive. There are people that buy in those markets, but multifamily was very expensive, very low cap rates there. And so with me being from Tennessee, I always look outside of the DC metro area for investment. So I moved to Georgia because it's where the markets are that I like, right? So I like the Atlanta area. Currently doing a deal in Augusta, Georgia. Like some of those markets that are sort of outside of the major metros because you could find some better deals, right? And I'm looking for um, really the metrics that you look for in any major market, right? You want to see population growth. You want to see income growth. You want to see diversified employers, right? So I'm looking at all those things, but I'm also trying to find that there is a deal that makes sense there too. So I tend to look at major markets, but also look at what you call secondary markets and even some tertiary markets as well.
Got it. Got it. And I appreciate that on the market front. You were starting to talk about the larger deal that you did. Tell me a little bit more
Yep.
about that.
Yeah, so that was in Tennessee where I was from. It was 34 units when I bought it. It was 50% vacant at the time. It was beat up and it was definitely a project, but I got excited about it because when I first talked to the agent that had it, this wasn't even a commercial broker, it was a residential agent. But when they told me about the property, it had a lot of potential, right? So I saw that potential and I saw what I could do. And so I went for it.
What what potential did you see? I mean, give me some context because I mean brokers are known for being able to highlight potential and make something look shinier
Yeah, yeah,
than it
yeah.
is.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously you saw something there and said, "Yep, I see it too." So tell me a little bit more about what you saw and kind of how you were able to look at a property that was only 50% occupied, that was beat up, and say, "Yep, I see the potential as well."
Right. Well, one, it was out of that 50% occupancy, it was still supporting itself. Right. So the owner was able to sustain and he bought it at a low basis where he got in and that 50% sustained itself. So I saw the other 50% is all upside, right? I'm like, hey, if I go in, I renovate these units and I bring it up to where it's stabilized, get it 85% or above, I can refinance, pull out my capital, and I'm going to be off the races with this asset. Now, I was a little naive in that, not really knowing how the process would work, but I knew that there was an opportunity because I did some sort of searching around the market, right? Going through other apartment complexes, seeing if I could find a tenant, find a unit to rent. So I'm acting like a tenant saying, hey, let me rent something here. And they're telling me, oh, we don't have anything. There's a wait list. So I knew that there was demand. And then I knew that I had a building where half of the units were down. They had junk furniture in them. And I'm like, okay, if I can just clean these out and fix them up, I can go ahead and turn a profit off of it.
How much work do those units need? I mean, were you like regutting them, or was it simply a matter of just doing a heavy turn?
It was more of a heavy turn. We didn't put a lot of capital into it. It was basically cleaning out all the junk of the unit, doing the typical things that you would do in a tip, right? In a flip, right? We're doing the paint, we're doing the cabinets, we're doing the flooring, we're doing bathroom, just replacing the sink, toilet, that sort of thing. So prettying them up is really what I was doing.
Got it. More cosmetic upgrades than anything. Where do you stand with that property now?
I still own that. It's in my portfolio. I was able to refinance it, and I executed that business plan of getting all my capital out and still being able to hold the asset.
Awesome, man. That's great to hear. How much equity were you able to create with that one?
So about $500,000.
$500,000 of equity, and that's for context that their acquisition price was what?
Yeah, so I got into that property. You'll probably be shocked when you hear it, but it was only $350,000, right, for this. But it wasn't really underpriced for what it was, right? It was in a tertiary market. It was 50% vacant. It needed a lot of repair, and it was distressed. So I was able to come in and basically purchase it there. My final appraisal was a little north of 800,000 on it.
Yeah, I heard you say a few things there, and I think the lesson for our listeners is, to find a great smoking deal like this, you have to focus on solving a problem, and a lot of times it has to be something that other folks do not want to deal with. So you mentioned you were in a tertiary market; it was distressed, it was 50% occupied, it was beat up a little bit. A lot of things that would deter a lot of other investors. You saw this as an opportunity. We're able to get in at 350K, create $500,000 worth of equity, refinance, pull out your portion, and now you're off to the races on something else with another deal while retaining this property in your portfolio. What else have you invested in so far?
Yeah, so I did my first syndication was a 48 unit in a market, maybe an hour and a half or so away from that market. I've also done some partnership deals in Texas, Duncansville, Irving, Texas. Latest acquisition going on in Augusta right now. So,
Awesome.
So it's spread around a little bit, but
yeah,
make it
yeah.
happen.
But it sounds like some stuff in Texas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia is kind of where most of your properties are located.
Right.
And let's talk about that just a little bit because you mentioned that you were in DC before.
Right.
And you're now just outside of Atlanta, and obviously you like the Southeast region from Texas to Georgia. What is it about that region that really jumps out to you?
For one, I like to invest with really a simple sort of philosophy, right? Where do I want to go, and do I have a need to be there? So you can look at the whole United States and say, I'll invest anywhere, I'll go anywhere, but there needs to be a reason for me to go there, or I need to want to go there, right? I don't want any property in Wisconsin or Idaho. I have no reason to get on a flight and go there. I wouldn't want to retire there. I don't really want to visit. No disrespect to anybody in those markets. It's just that there needs reason. So my first acquisitions were in Tennessee. That's where I'm from. I had family in those areas. I was already traveling there. With Georgia, it's another market that we like because it was growing. It had basically everything that my family looked for, and we were closer to our family. So I select markets based on where I want to be, if it makes sense for me to be there, and does the market support me investing in that area.
I'm glad you said no offense because my Idaho listeners are probably gonna have picket fences
Don't
just
come for
walking around your house this time.
me.
Now, listen, I think it makes sense, right? I mean, if you want to keep things simple, where do you plan on going? Invest in markets that you know that you're going to visit. If you're an operator, right? If you're passive, it's a little less relevant because you just want to
Right.
make sure you're in a solid market. But if you're an operator, you want to make sure you have a reason to go to these markets outside of just that property. If you're going for family, if you have friends there, like love to vacation there, that makes it, a great spot to go and a lot of good things there. So I love the way you broke that down. I think that's the way a lot of investors look at it. And it also is because you're going to have an edge in those markets if you know them, you spend time in them. You're going to have an edge and a reason to learn more about those markets as is. Jason, let's talk a little bit more about kind of where you're headed with your business. I know that you mentioned your deal in Georgia. You've got a deal there. And you're really growing and focusing on how you take things to the next level in 2021. What are some of your goals and some of the things that you're putting in place to grow your business and to do more deals in 2021?
Yeah, I recently signed up with a company that's going to sort of take the off market deal, or the off market deal finding process and automate it for me. So they search for off market deals, they send letters on your behalf, they even have some seller conversations, and they basically turn it over to me after it's done. So it's early stages, but I like what they're doing. I looked at the software behind it. They have a lot of metrics, right? So they're looking at basically layering data on top of each other. So you take a list of just owners that meet a certain criteria. You layer that with maybe distress, how long they've owned it, the bank note, and they basically come up with a score of saying this owner has a high likelihood of selling or they do not. And they target those who have a high likelihood and reach out to them on a consistent basis. So what I really want to do is in the growth aspect of things is just being system oriented and make sure that I'm doing out and creating deals, especially in this market climate right now. And when I say create deals, what I'm referring to is being able to see what other people may not see, or being able to be pinpoint when it comes to understanding the local various things that may go on in the market to make deals work that other people may overlook. And so I think that in the COVID climate, and with the market being so frothy right now, that you definitely want to go ahead and make sure that you can have any competitive advantage that you can.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you think about, like you said, just what's going on in the market, figuring out how do you create deals, how can you look at opportunities and get a little creative while still protecting your investors. And you mentioned the deal finding process and kind of partnering with someone else to outsource it. That's the challenge for most people, right? It's finding the deal. So being able to have another arm or another resource that's able to look on your behalf, figure out what your criteria is, and start some of that initial outreach, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. How do you structure that compensation package with them? I mean, are they going to be partners in a deal? Is it kind of a flat fee? How does that work?
Right. So they take a fee for the work, right? And then there's also a compensation piece on the end. So the company that started this is mainly a brokerage or people who worked in the brokerage field, and they sort of spun up their own thing to find off market deals and then be able to quote unquote broker these deals as they give them to individual owners in different markets around the U.S.
Do you have like a non-compete with them, or is that something where if you didn't want the deal or it didn't fit your criteria for whatever reason, they would just take it to the next person?
Yeah, so they're very early on. And with that, you sort of have a hierarchy, right? So if you're first in the market, which I was, then it goes to you first. If you pass on it, then, they'll take it to whoever.
Got it. No, I appreciate you clarifying that.
Yep.
Jason, for folks who want to learn more about you and what you got going on, what's the best way to reach out?
You can definitely go to my website, which is SNS Capital Partners. That's like Nancy Sam, capitalpartners.com. And you can also, if you want to send me an email, it's Jason at snscapitalpartners.com. Go to my website. I've got a free sort of web class for any passive investors. And also, if you want to hear about the deals we're doing, then you can also join the investor list right there.
So, Jason, I think a lot of people, they look at deals, either they're analyzing deals, and sometimes when we talk about creating deals, they don't know what to really look for. So, what do you look for, right? We talked about the one deal before, but as a general rule of thumb, when you're looking at an opportunity, what are the things you're paying attention to?
So we have a calculator that we use on every deal, and when there's a deal that works, you usually see it, right? It just feels like it. So one quick thing that I can do is just look at the price per door and look at the average rents, or where the average rents can go. And if I'm getting something around the this is a single family term, but around that 1% rule, and you have room for growth, then I know right off the top that's going to be a deal. Also looking at the expense ratio to see where they are, where the properties are running. I want to see that expense ratio somewhere around the 45 to 55%, and then seeing if we can change. Well, finding deals in this market is where you look for outliers, right? So looking for the property that may be at 60% on the expense ratio, and seeing if we can't get that down to 50, right? Or 45 or 55, whatever. Just bringing it down, looking for the added cost that you might be able to look at. A lot of deals just don't work. A lot of deals, I look at them, put them in our calculator, and just say, no, got to pass on that. It's no way. We have a method by which we go and see what the whisper price is. For those listeners who may not know, that's like a lot of deals right now, they don't actually put the amount that the owner wants off the property. They sort of leave it TBD, to be determined, and then just reaching out to the broker, say what's it going to take to make this deal happen, seeing what that number is, and if we can get close to it or not. If we can't, we just pass on it.
Yeah, I think when you talk about figuring out what that whisper price is, that's a challenge too for newer investors, because if you don't have that broker relationship, sometimes it doesn't work quite as well. What are your tips or steps to build a better and deeper broker relationship so you can actually have a fighter's chance at winning one of those deals?
Right. In the beginning, it is a little bit difficult. I think now I put brokers on my email list. So when I'm sending stuff out, which I've been doing for years now, but they get the list. And sometimes those brokers respond to me. Sometimes they don't. But even if they don't, they've seen, hey, this is Jason Stubblefield. This is a piece of his content. He's in the multifamily space. And also, when they send me deals, we underwrite them. We ask questions. When I respond to a broker, we put the pro forma right in the email. So saying, hey, this is where we are with the property. If you see something that we don't see, let me know. Sometimes it's fluff, right? Sometimes they always see things that you don't see to make, to get to that magic number. But sometimes there could be things in the property that if you're just taking a 30,000 foot view of the property, you would miss unless you get that feedback from a broker or something specifically. So I try to keep constant communication and really just be responsive to them to form that relationship.
And Jason, another thing I see people struggle with is, like, if you're in multiple markets, just the amount of different brokers or deals that come across your desk, and just the time it takes to underwrite a deal, get an offer together, and go through all that. How do you manage that? And how do you manage doing that in kind of an effective manner where you can be productive, but not spend so much time, underwriting a deal, putting together an LOI just to realize you're not going to get the deal?
Yeah, it's a process that I've set up. So I leverage some virtual assistants, right? They've gone through, I guess you can call it my own mini course on how to underwrite. So when I initially get a property package, I just forward it to them. They get everything entered into a calculator. I have an acquisitions guy who then reviews what the virtual assistants have done and sort of fine tunes it, catch any mistakes. And then after that, we start a quick email, right, to the broker. Hey, we think this property is going to be, 8 million, let's say. They come back to us and say, no, we think 6 million. We're too far away. or maybe we say 8 million, they may say 10. We're too far away, right? But if we're close, then we'll go ahead and sharpen the pencil a little bit more and dig into it. So with me and what I'm doing in the business is trying to get away from that process and only really taking a close look at deals that have come off market, or we have some competitive advantage, or we have a conversation with the broker saying that we're going to be close on these numbers.
Got it. So you want someone else to do that initial vetting. And then if it's off market or something that you feel is close, that's when you really play in. And I think the lesson there is it can be a challenge to underwrite and to go through this process. So if you can find the steps that are laborious, tiresome, repetitive, if you can find a way to replicate that process and offload the work and engage where it makes sense for you to engage, that's a great way for you to free up your time and do the important work. To underwrite a deal that you're going to be $2 million off on, it's a waste of an hour of your time. And it's the most frustrating thing for a lot of people. You need to go through it if you're new, because you need to learn and go through that process of underwriting deals, right? And building up that muscle. But if you have the experience, you know what you're looking for. If you can have someone else input that data, do the initial analysis, and help you get a sense of, hey, is this one worth exploring further or not? That can save you a lot of time. Obviously, you don't want to miss a deal or an opportunity, but if you're still following up with the broker, they'll probably give you some feedback and say, hey, I think you missed this, or, did you consider this factor? So it gives you kind of a chance to make sure you're not missing something that's obvious. But I think it's a smart way to be more efficient with your time. And with everything where it is, your time and managing your time is really going to be the difference between being effective and being successful, and maybe staying still. So great tip there, Jason. We're going to move on to our bullseye round. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
Yeah, I would say those couple of quads that I ended up passing on, right? The deal just didn't feel right. Usually you have something in your gut that says, hey, I should move forward or I shouldn't. And I think that not doing those deals was probably one of the best decisions I could have made at that time.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
processst. So I mentioned the virtual assistants. It's processst is the website. What it allows you to do is go in there and create a to-do list, but you can do it with a lot of technology. So my process looks like one of them may be a set of instructions: step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 4 may be a video. Step 5 may be me doing a quick, I use a lot of video actually, but sort of walking them through the steps so that you can have any person spin up, especially if you're working with virtual assistants. You may have a virtual assistant who leaves, who no longer works with you, but if you have those processes documented, you can spin somebody else up very quickly. So I utilize that a lot, and I like it as a resource.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
It's gotta be As a Man Thinketh. So I bought a lot of those by James Allen. It's a very short read, but really gets to the core of who you are as a person and mindset. I love that book. I bought a lot of them. I just kept them in the car. And when I ride around, if I saw somebody on the street, I just, I'll take out money and I put it in the book and I give it to them.
I love that, man. All right, give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
I do the Miracle Morning every morning. If you haven't read that book by Hal Elrod, I would strongly suggest you do it. But with me, no matter what goes on the night before, no matter how I may feel when I first get out of bed, I get up, I write down my goals. I may read a little bit, meditation, exercise, and by the time I come sit at my desk, I'm ready to go.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
The business part of doing this, right? So when I first got started, it was like, I'm trying to buy multifamily. And that's really what I'm looking to do. I want to buy a deal, find a deal. And what I didn't realize is that there's a business part to this, right? That there's systems that need to be in place. There's marketing, there's advertising, there's operations, and sort of moving into the next trajectory where I want to go is really defining those business systems so that we can continue to grow and expand.
What are you curious about right now?
I look at a lot of the things happening globally, and I find them intriguing. So, a lot of the organizations, so the International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organization, macroeconomics. I'm sort of looking at all these things and just trying to figure them out because it's not taught to us, right? And it's not talked about a lot. But just seeing how these things play out is something that I found pretty interesting right now.
All right. I know you are just outside of Atlanta, so give me the best place to grab a bite in the A.
Oh, there's so many. I paused with that. There's so many, but Jim and Nicks BBQ is right up in Lawrenceville. We really like that place. If you want to get some good tasting barbecue, go to Jim and Nicks Lawrenceville.
All right. You've given us a lot of great information, man. I love hearing your story from, one, serving in the military, going into, computer science, figuring out you wanted to invest in real estate, going residential, turning over to multifamily. You talked about, finding that deal where, you bought the deal in Tennessee, 50% occupied, and took that and just made that a home run deal to get into syndication, starting to grow your portfolio. You've got over 900 units now and growing, and talking about the Southeast region, why you like Texas, why you like Georgia, why you like Tennessee, Kentucky. For listeners who want to get in touch, I know you gave your contact information earlier in the show, but if you could do it again, give us your website, your email address, and make sure our listeners have that.
Sure. That's SNS Capital Partners, Sam, Nancy, Sam, capitalpartners.com. And you can reach me at jason@snscapitalpartners.com.
All right, Jason, listen, it's always good talking to you and catching up, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you on this show, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again soon. Take care.
Appreciate you, John. Have a good one.